Forrest Street went this way.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we live, 102. Mama Kate and Pap, where Sam lives now, 108 Forrest Street. So Forrest Street's this way. It was unpaved when I was a kid, and the trucks would get stuck out there in front, and they made a big mud hole. And Sam and I used to get out there and swim in the mud hole, which is probably about as wide as this table and about that deep. But that's before they paved it. But anyway, Forrest Street goes on up toward town. And then Main Street goes out west. That's where Grandmother Vann lived. All right, Mama Kate and Pap lived in 108. Miss Morrell Riley lived next. Annie Crump lived next, and then our house. And going the other way, it was the Methodist parsonage on the corner, Uncle Kurt and Aunt Gussie Solomon, and then Grandmother Vann. But what your mama was telling you is you could go out of Mom and Daddy's house, out the back door, and at one time there was a fence. So the reason they had that style was because there was a fence. So
Yeah, that's what I remember. So it's like little steps. You
It
got up
was.
to the fence, you walked up steps, then you walked down steps, and you're in
Exactly.
Grand Band's backyard.
Exactly, that's what it was. I was noted for buying peppermint candy and going to the liquor store and getting some whiskey and making them cough syrup.
Oh, that's what he called it. Maybe that's why he had all those cough drops. Y'all got a bad
I
cough.
think that was fairly common, back in those days.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I was born in that middle bedroom, I'm told, and Daddy's first cousin, Dr. Thomas B. Woods, was an OBGYN doctor. Raised in Headland, he went to Dothan. His practice was in Dothan. But he delivered me, and I was a breech birth. And Daddy would tell me that Thomas would say, "Do this, do that," and Daddy's about to faint, just watching the whole thing. But anyway, I was born backwards, and that gives me an excuse to have been backwards all of my life.
But just imagine poor Nana, an 18, 19-year-old, I guess 19 by this time, 19-year-old girl having a baby in a home, not in a hospital. Her husband's cousin is delivering. And the baby's coming out but first. My gosh, I just think this must have been horrible. I wonder if
It was commonplace in those days.
I guess. But poor Nana, poor Nana.
She made it.
So then what Nana said was, that y'all lived with them, and I don't know how long, I don't know at what point that y'all moved to 102, but she said Grand Band bought that house for y'all.
She did.
Because she said...
And I think paid $2,000 for it. And then, see, after Daddy went into service in World War II, Liv and Hank Stroop moved into that house while we were living with Grandmother Vann.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And then, once they needed it back, they
They
got
moved
it
them
back.
out.
So you rented it out.
They did, I guess.
Yeah, 102.
Well, see, Liv
and
was
Nana.
Mama's first cousin. Aunt Mamie Oates
Yeah.
and Grandmother Vann were sisters.
So Liv is Aunt Mamie's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Liv.
Liv,
Liv Street.
Elizabeth, I guess, but they called her Liv. I don't know who's taking this dictation, Logan, you or your mom?
I've got some. I'm recording it on the audio. So
Oh, are you?
yeah,
On your phone?
yeah, on my phone.
Well, like I told you, it's more than we're gonna cover in one day. 'Cause
That's fine.
anything you wanna talk about, it leads to something else and something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
And I don't know how interested or how much detail you wanna go into.
No, that's good. So,
Well,
yeah,
why don't
one.
we take a break take
Okay.
a change, not take a break, but change from what we're talking about and go to any specific questions you might have.
So, I want to know about like what the Brands, the Woods, the Vans, the Solomons did. Like your grandparents and great grandparents, what did they do for a living?
Granddaddy Van, whose picture I have, we need to show you all those pictures before we
Yep.
leave. But Granddaddy Van had a dry goods store in Headland, and he was a pretty good businessman. He wound up owning, 1,200 acres of land maybe. And the reason I'm saying that, Betsy and I talked about this yesterday, that when the Depression hit, see, Granddaddy Van died in 1933. Grandmother Van was pregnant with May May, who was born in January of 34. 4 or 5 months later. And there she is with 9 kids right in the middle of the Depression. And Uncle Bob Solomon, her brother, was her advisor. And he said, Kate, what you need to do in order to be able to pay taxes on the rest of this land and keep it was to sell a place they call Lodiva. And oh, believe me, the whole family would almost kill to get that back, but it's something they had to do in order to keep the rest of it. And they did all right.
How do you spell Lodiva?
I'm assuming Lodiva.
Okay.
And how they came up with that, I don't know. Anyway, why am I telling you all that?
I'm saying, what did each of your grandparents do? So he was
Okay.
the drugstore owner?
No,
Or
dry
just
goods.
Dry goods.
Yeah.
Dry goods.
That was
Clothing
my daddy
store.
Van. Grandmother Van had worked as a clerk, back in her younger days at the 5 and 10 cent store. I don't know, maybe even.
She worked for him.
I was going to say.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I just remember that. But
Yeah.
she had several jobs growing up, like we all did. I cannot remember not ever working. We either were mowing grass or picking up pecans or picking cotton, it's just a way of life. Nobody had to make you do it. They just expected you to do it.
Yeah.
And we had to wear clothes made out of feed sacks and flour sacks. Not really. Some people did.
He was the best dressed. What I started to tell you, Nana said that at elementary school, he would go to school in the morning. I guess take Sam with you, I don't know. But go to school in the morning and then walk home for lunch. And he said it was a few blocks. And she would have a hot lunch for him. And then he would go back in the afternoon. But when he was home for lunch, he would get a bath and get his clothes changed and go back to school. And
After
something
that, I
fresh.
started eating in the lunchroom. At some point,
She wanted him to be fresh when he went back. So, of
There's
course,
an-
he was the best dressed one there.
she always told us you may not have but 2 sets of clothes, but they're going to be clean. If I had to wash them tonight and send you back to school in them tomorrow.
And she just was all about being clean and looking your best. And that was her. And she took a lot of pride in how good her babies looked, how clean and precious. And so one day she sent me off. I would go down there and spend time with her in the summers. And one day she sent me to the Baptist Vacation Bible School. I have a feeling she put me in every single Bible school she could just to keep me busy while I was down there, because she worked in my Uncle Jim's dentist office as his office manager. So she sends me off in this beautiful little dress, my hair pulled up in a ponytail with a bow. She said I was perfect when I left that morning. And wouldn't you know, the next week in the Headland Observer on the front page was a picture of the Baptist Vacation Bible School. And there I am on the front row with my hair out, dirty. I've been running around having a good time. And she was horrified because that is not how she sent me to Vacation Bible School that morning. But that's what I looked like when they made the picture. So that was kind of bad for her.
Well, another noteworthy story is when I was 5 and Sam was 3, I asked Grandmother Van, I forgot now what it was, if she had any Coca-Colas. We call them Cocos instead of Coca-Colas. And I don't think she did. Anyway, she gave me a little bit of money, like a dime or something. And I think we were supposed to be getting some peppermint candy, maybe Coca-Colas. But here we go, walking from her house where we were living up to the Methodist Church, one more block down to Walden Motor Company, and the only caution light in town was right there on that corner of Main Street. Well, Main Street was this way, and West Church Street that way. Well, like a fool, I looked and saw a car coming and ran on the crossing. I made it just fine. My little 3-year-old brother, whose hand I should have been holding and leading him across the street, didn't make it. A car hit him, busted his head wide open, broke his leg. I don't know what else it did to him. You ever heard that story? And so I went home and told them that Sam was dead. And Mom said,
Well, I think he was lying on the ground and there's blood on him.
I don't know, but the people that hit him were from North Alabama somewhere, and they loaded him up in their car and took him to Dothan, to the hospital. Mom said she had been out working in the yard, and whatever clothes she had on, she had a safety pin pinning them up. And so she called Sybil Holman, who was the wife of the mortician. Well, she and her husband ran the Headland mortuary, to find out if Sam's body were over there. And Sybil said, no, he's not here. I said, but you just wait. I'll come and get you and we'll find out where he is. So I guess Mama changed clothes in the meantime, and they take off to Moody Hospital in Dothan and got down there and found him alive.
We'll have to ask Betsy the details because I don't know if she had time to change clothes because I remember the story that Graham Vann brought Nana something. Maybe it was shoes. Maybe she
Whatever.
had time to change into a different duster that didn't have a safety pin, but Graham
Well,
Vann
at
thought
that
she
point in
needed
time,
new shoes.
changing clothes shouldn't be your first priority anyway.
Right. But I do remember that Graham Vann brought her something a little more appropriate to the hospital
Okay.
once everything settled down.
Who did you know that had gone to Yellowstone, worked at Yellowstone before you went there?
My Uncle Jim Vann, he had been a park ranger out there.
Before dental school, before all
I don't
that?
know. I
Okay.
don't know. Could have been in the summer between, I don't know
Okay.
how that worked. But he went, I think, 2 different years. And one funny story about that is he had a ranger's hat that he wanted to sell. And the same year that I worked out there, Donald Solomon, his sister Jane Solomon, Nikki Weeks, Sonny Martin, and I, 5 people from little old Headland, Alabama, were working in Yellowstone that summer.
Isn't that
That's
great?
funny.
Jim sent his ranger hat by Sonny Martin for me to sell. And I needed to go up to the Mammoth, to the ranger headquarters up at the north part of the park at the Mammoth location. Well, in the meantime, Sonny Martin and his smart self put that hat on one night and went over into this dorm where these kids were living or lodged somewhere over at Old Faithful's where he was. And I was at Fishing Bridge. Well, he goes in there and wakes this kid up in the middle of the night and said, you've got a phone call over at Lake Lodge or Lake Hotel, long way away. Not Lake, but Old Faithful.
Yeah.
So anyway, the boy gets up and goes over there, half asleep. And they said, man, you don't have a phone call over here. We don't know what you're talking about. He said, well, a ranger came in my... Okay, now I'm supposed to carry the hat up yonder.
You tried to sell it.
And
They'll
so I'm
think it was
scared to
you.
death. That's exactly right. So I put it under my bed
Look
and
that
let
guy
it cool
down.
off. But then, see, we had no way to travel. I had to hitchhike up to Mammoth and left it with him. And I think Jim told me they sent him a $25 check when it sold. But he's the one that got us interested in Yellowstone, and 5 of us from Headland
So did y'all all fly out there? How did y'all get out there that summer?
trained.
So y'all kind of traveled together?
No. We all went separately.
Okay.
But just when you got there, there were some of your
The
buddies.
night that I graduated from high school, the night, I got on a train in Dothan, Alabama,
Okay.
going to Chicago.
Okay.
Changed trains in Chicago and went out west on
I-80 now.
Northern Pacific or Union Pacific
okay.
or whatever, and wound up in Livingston, Montana. Then I took a bus down to Gardner, Montana, where the Yellowstone Park people picked us up. You see, there was a whole group of them, but not the ones from Headland. Whole group of us in that bus in the snowbank. Now this is May, late May. Snowbanks were so tall when that bus would turn corners, sometimes it would, scrape the snowbank. And see, there were different kids on there that were assigned different places. I was Fishing Bridge. Some of them were Lake, Canyon, Mammoth, West Thumb. That's all I can remember.
Had you been
locations.
assigned that, like, when you were in high school? Did you know you were going to be at Fishing Bridge, or was that when you got to
No, I
Yellowstone?
knew before I left that's where I was going.
Okay.
But I had no idea where Fishing Bridge was.
Okay.
And see, my first job was a cabin boy. We'd roll these little carts around, and the girls would change the linen, and the boys would take care of the firewood and take the dirty linen back to the laundry room. Okay, after that, I got a chance to work in the laundry. And that was a pretty sweet job compared to what I had been doing. But the best job was I got to work on a garbage truck. You see, we'd go around the campground and pick up the garbage, and we had a designated place, dump, to put it. And we were supposed to make a couple of stops between where we were and the dump, checking for fire. Because, see, they'd use those presto logs, and sometimes when people took out the ashes, they'd be smoldering enough that it might catch up as you're driving down the road with the wind blowing. Well, we got lackadaisical and quit making the fire stops like we were supposed to. So we looked back there one day, and Lord have mercy, that whole truck bed was on fire, but we did have a fire extinguisher, and we got it out before it did much damage. And of course, we had to lie when we got back.
So no
told
fire.
them, told them that we, oh yeah, we made the stop, which we didn't. But
How often were you seeing your cousins during that summer?
the Solomons,
Yeah,
not very often,
like once a month or
if that much.
okay.
Donald was assigned over to Old Faithful, where Sonny Martin and Donald were both over there, but they had 2 or 3 different locations, like Old Faithful Inn, Old Faithful Hotel, Old Faithful Lodge. One of those buildings is still there, and I mean, it is gorgeous. I saw it a couple of years ago. But anyway, Jane Solomon was at Lake, and I was the only one at Fishing Bridge. I think Nikki Weeks was at Lake also. So 2 at Lake, 1 at Fishing Bridge, and 2 at Old Faithful.
Nice.
But I didn't see them often. Donald was in with these California boys that had a fancy car. And I remember they had this, I don't know what you'd call it, Larry, it'd be kind of a fancy muffler or something on the side of it.
Side pipes, yeah.
Huh?
They call them side pipes.
Okay, that's what it was. And I don't remember what kind of car it was. But when they drove up, they came to see me over at Fishing Bridge, and like a fool,
Oh.
I put my foot up on there. I didn't hurt it, but I said, "What is this?" And Donald told me later that those California boys, or Arizona, wherever they were from, said that if I hadn't have been his friend, I would have gotten a whooping for putting my foot on that side pipe.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it burned you, but they just didn't like you messing with their pipe.
Well, you know they wouldn't. It was their pride and joy.
Was it chrome?
Yeah. And, it was one of those, well, this was 57. I doubt that it could have been like a 55 or 56, or maybe older than that, but it was a nice car.
Yeah.
And they didn't want me putting my foot
They
on the
would've
pipe,
wanted
and
to.
I don't blame them.
So the internship was May to August, or how long was it?
What do you call an
Or
internship?
I guess the job, the summer job.
Yeah, see, when you made application for it, they told us that the earlier you could come and the later you could stay, the better your chances of getting hired were.
Okay.
Well, so I signed up from May to September.
Okay.
Well, I was going to school in Auburn that fall. And after I found out when school started, I really couldn't work out my total time that I had agreed to, and so I just went and talked to the guy that was running and said, "Hey, I need to go. Need to get out of here so I can get home and go to school." And they didn't give me any trouble about it.
Okay.
I barely made enough money that
make it
whole summer to pay for my train ticket out there and train ticket back. If I had any money to go to Auburn on, I don't remember how much it was. And there was a guy, I've forgotten the fraternity, it doesn't matter, came over to the boarding house where I was living, and they were trying to, recruit me and get me to join their fraternity. I said, "Man, I don't have enough money to be in Auburn, much less to be in a fraternity, because I heard it costs more if you lived in a fraternity house." But anyway, that was an interesting experience.
And when did you meet Dot? Was that pretty early on?
In Yellowstone,
Yeah,
Yeah,
was that like
yeah.
in May, like pretty early on?
I'm pretty sure she was working over in the dining room, in the kitchen. Yeah,
So how many people were working in Fishing Bridge? Was it like 5 of you, like 30 of you, like you have
altogether like 50,
50?
because there are a lot of different, well, not all of them worked for Yellowstone Park Company, but they had a grocery store.
Okay.
I've forgotten what that was called. They had a photography shop, Haynes. They had a boat dock down there where the kids that worked there, there's only 4 or 5 of them maybe, but they would clean fish. But now at the place where I worked, it had to be at least 30 or more probably, because they had people cleaning cabins and people working in the office, and all those that worked in the, where Dot did, in the cafeteria.
Mm-hmm.
And see, she had to work split shifts because they fed us 3 times a day, I
Okay.
think. And they worked it out, so she might have to be there for breakfast, take a little break, and come back for lunch, or maybe even had to come back for all 3 meals. I wouldn't like that, because I just put in my regular day and
And be off.
Kind
went to the house.
Like 9 to 5?
6 or 7 to dark.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Did you have to paint on bears, or you just had to tell them? I remember that they would paint X's on bears if they got in the garbage, and then if you ever saw a bear with an X on it, that's when they would shoot them if they got in the garbage again.
I didn't really have anything to do with marking them.
Okay.
But we saw plenty of them. They'd be in the garbage cans, when we came around, and we'd honk the horn.
So he's the garbage man, and bears are getting in the garbage.
We'd throw presto logs and sticks and, try to run them off.
But that was the policy. If they got in the garbage, they spray painted them or marked them with an X.
That would be the Rangers doing that.
Okay. And then if they got in the garbage can with an X on their back, they would shoot them because that's
Or
the
they
second
might trap
or
them and
haul them
haul
off.
them off.
Yeah. Maybe they were shooting them with a tranquilizer gun. I don't
We
know.
occasionally saw grizzlies. Mostly it was just brown bears or black bear. They could be brown or black in color, but I've forgotten whether they call them American brown bear or black bear. It was a fun experience.
And do you know how Dot got interested in the Yellowstone?
Not
dog?
at all. Don't have a clue.
I talked to Ray. What do you call him? Todd. He says hi.
Logan's
good.
been calling everybody trying to get family history. So he called John, Jack, and Todd recently.
Great.
Yeah.
You know Sally, don't you?
Yeah. So, you were there when Sally did that presentation on, who was it?
Yeah.
It wasn't the Waltons, but the Arnolds? Or who was it?
Was it on the Waltons? I can't remember.
At James Harris's house, she did that PowerPoint presentation on.
I don't think I was there. I don't
I think
remember.
it was when Morgan was a baby. I think you might. Oh yeah, maybe.
I think it was when Ruth Ann got married, but I don't know if he was still there or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember it. But
Yeah, I've tried to get. I called Sally a couple of times, but I think she was 7 or 8 years younger than Dot. So some of the
she was. Kristen won't ever come back after hearing all this crap.
No, it's so not true. I love
But
this stuff.
when-
And there's some similarities from some of the stories you said to like my grandparents.
When
That's neat.
when Dot and I got married, I went to the University of Utah to undergraduate, and I tried to get into med school at Utah, but I didn't that first year. But I did get accepted to Alabama, and I said I'd been working at the VA hospital all those years, while I was going to school. And we lived in Stadium Village and managed to have a couple of kids in the meantime. But when I got accepted to Alabama, there wasn't any doubt about it. I was going to med school right then, not waiting. So I forgot now what I was going to tell you about that. It was something to do with med school. Anyway, we moved to Birmingham, and we, Mom and Daddy had gone up there and had found us a nice place in Valley View Apartments. Nice. We couldn't afford it because we only had like $220 a month coming in. The Waltons gave us $120, Mom and Daddy $100.
Oh my goodness.
And we couldn't handle $90, so I saw this sign in the medical school office that said apartment for rent, $55. And it turned out it was Miss Aiken, Miss Eugenia Aiken. So I called her up,
Just a miracle, a
went
blessing.
over there, and we looked at it. It was old servants' quarters out behind their house. And it was nothing to compare with Valley View Apartments, but the rent was more in our budget. So we lived there all those years.
And the apartment didn't come with Miss Aiken.
What? That's true.
The apartment didn't come with Miss
She was a
Eugenia
doll. She was
Aiken.
like another grandmother for y'all.
She's the one that when my mama was sick with Jamie, she pulled up and Betsy and Kurt and I are in the car. Daddy's at work. He's working all the time at the hospital. He's in med school and working at the hospital.
I actually was in the dean's office
Oh.
at that time at a meeting.
Okay.
Go ahead.
But anyway, Miss Eugenia pulls up there and parks somewhere that it says no parking, do not park, but she's got to get sick Dot in the hospital. And the security guard comes up to the car and says, "No, ma'am, you cannot park here." Well, her husband was a doctor at that hospital, and she's a strong Southern woman, and she says, "Not only am I going to park here and take this sick woman in the hospital, you're going to stay here and watch these 3 kids." And then she marched in there with the hospital with Dot, and he stood there and watched those 3
I
kids.
love that.
Precious.
How did you choose urology?
The best way to answer that is we used to say that there were thinking doctors and doing doctors. The thinking doctors were primarily, cardiologists, hands-off type stuff, non-surgeons anyway. Okay, I knew right off that I was interested in some kind of surgery, but general surgery didn't turn me on that much. ENT, eye, orthopedics didn't turn me on. But I think the main reason I chose it was the residents that were in the department as we rotated through that service took me under their wing, and we'd go in there and look at x-rays. You know, they'd say, look here, this patient's got a stone. And you'd see the dye would be delayed coming out of one kidney, and a lot of times you could see the stone. The kinds of surgery that the urologists didn't last as long as the general surgeons.
Okay.
You know, if you go in there and do a 4-hour operation, that ain't for me.
Yep.
Most anything that could be done in urology would take an hour or less. And learning how to use the scopes and look up in the bladder and squirt dye up into the kidneys, and just the other thing I liked was all ages and both sexes. We took care of everything from a newborn baby to a 90-year-old person, male or female. Of course, we didn't do the gynecology, OBGYN part of it, but anything else that had to do with female, female plumbing fell in our bailiwick.
Okay.
So that's basically it. That's all I can tell you.
Cool.
Tell them about the first time you watched surgery.
That was not even watching surgery.
Oh,
But
well, tell him that.
Jim Vann had a friend named, his last name was Buck. I've forgotten his name, but the dentist, Dr. Buck, had a brother named Gray Buck. And when we were like sophomores, Dr. Gray Buck came to give a lecture to us, and he showed a picture of a hernia repair, which is nothing. Nowadays, I look back and wondering why it bothered me, but it just showed them. Of course, they had them all draped and washed and all that. And as soon as they made the incision, you know, one of the blood was just before they could get the hemostat on it. And I found myself lightheaded and slinking down in the chair. That makes you wonder how I ever got to be a surgeon.
I guess the story I heard was the first time you saw surgery, so it wasn't in med school, but yeah.
It was in med school,
Oh,
but
it
it was in the 2 years of pre-med. I mean, not pre-med, but
General medicine or?
no, whatever they call the first 2 years. Clinical years were when you got in the hospital. But
Okay.
for basic science years.
So this is just watching a film instead of watching a live surgery.
Exactly.
I pictured it, you were standing up watching
You
the
can
surgery.
always embellish it a little bit if you want to.
It sounds a little better if it was the real
Sort
thing.
of like
Yeah.
ruts, right?
Mm-hmm.
He almost passed out watching it the first time he saw surgery.
Sure did.
How about that? And then he got to where he could do surgery.
Nice.
Now he loved to pull tricks on us. Daddy had carousels and a slide projector. And when we went on vacation, he'd take lots of pictures with his 35mm camera on slide film, and then we'd have these slideshows when we got home. So we'd be watching the film, the slides, and then there'd be a kidney that would just pop up in the middle of it. And we'd go, oh, Daddy! You know, then he'd laugh and we'd go to the next, he would just randomly put surgery slides in our
I've still got
slideshows.
that carousel, Larry, that you gave me, or y'all gave me, and it
We
seems
don't
like
do
I
that.
never have time to
Yeah.
get on it. You just have to say, okay, I'm going to do this. Right now it's going to be my project. But I got the old slides, and what I like to do is go through them and decide which ones need to be kept or which ones I want to keep, and maybe have them digitalized or
Yeah.
do something with them so we don't have them on those.
Cool.
Do you still have a
35mm.
slide projector?
That's what I got from
Oh,
y'all.
okay. Oh, okay. I didn't even remember that. Yeah, because I was saying we have one, but did we give it to you
No,
to use?
you did. I think I already had the slides,
Okay.
that carousel thing.
Yeah.
We
But
had two.
You did?
Yeah, I gave you one and we kept one.
Okay.
I can't even remember, but
Well, I appreciate it, even though you can't tell it from my having used it.
well, you can get around to it one of these days.
Yeah.
That's
Maybe.
good.
Oh, I was going to tell you all about the water. This is called Wheeler Lake.
Wheeler?
Wheeler Lake, named after Joe Wheeler, General
Fighting Joe
Wheeler.
Wheeler. He was the Civil War general.
Gotcha.
Anyway, they built a series of dams starting back in the 30s, maybe even 20s. Wilson was first, and then Wheeler. And I don't know about Gunnersville and different ones up and down the Tennessee River. But when they built Wheeler Dam, the lake that backed up behind it is Wheeler Lake, which is this one. And it goes a long way. This one goes from 10 miles down the river all the way to Gunnersville. Whereas Wilson, between Wilson and Wheeler is probably 10, 12 miles, not as much lake in there. But you can get on the water right here, and if you had time to lock through the docks, you could go all the way to Knoxville.
Oh, wow.
Have to go through Nickajack and I don't know the names of all those dams.
Yeah.
Watts Bar is one of them.
Cool. Yeah, it's
What I was going to tell you, see the water. If the water were level with the bottom of my boathouse,
yeah.
that would be what they call full pool.
Okay.
So it's winter pool right now. And I don't know if you know it or not, Larry, but that grass out there that you can see, they call it eel grass.
Eel?
And that eel is what I've been told. It is the most aggravating stuff. When it started growing, it looked like a fern or a cedar tree growing up out of the bottom.
Right.
It got so thick, it was out farther, twice as far as it is now. And you can't cast through it. Your lure gets hung up in it. You can't even run your boat through it. So I don't know what they're going to do. If they don't get rid of it somehow or another, I don't need a boat.
I thought for a while they were spraying, trying to kill that stuff.
Well, you know, years ago they killed milfoil. They had a pretty
Right.
successful program with that.
Right.
Well, Daddy, one thing Sally told us, we talked to her on a group call a couple of weeks ago, and she said that she remembered going up to Yellowstone and meeting you as a little girl, that John and Ruth went up there to visit Dorothy. What she said was, of course, Dorothy was perfect. She was their first, most beautiful, most precious, smart angel, and her going to Yellowstone about killed them.
Oh, really?
Because, yeah, that her going off, they just couldn't stand it. They missed her so much, and that they went up to see her a few times that summer. And she said, and we met Wayne. And I said, what? See, I thought the first time you met them was when you went out there to get married.
No, I met him up there.
I didn't know that.
Well, later, Dorothy told me later, I think, or maybe Sally did, that they could tell when they came to Yellowstone and saw us, they could tell there was something serious going on
How
between
about
Dot
that?
and me.
Well, I'm going to tell you another thing. I kind of believe that because Logan has been calling people that were in her high school with her. When he was on his mission, they sent him to the MTC, the Missionary Training Center in Utah, for a few weeks to get trained, and then he went on his mission. Well, one of the men there that was the branch president was a high school classmate of Mama's.
Really?
And so Logan found that out there. I guess, how did y'all find that out?
2000, or he just introduced himself, and he said, I was born and raised in Salt Lake, and so I went up to him afterwards, and I was like, well, what high school did you go to? And
Olympus.
he said Olympus, and I said, well, what year did you graduate? And he said 57.
How about that?
Yeah.
Well, see, they had a much bigger class than we did.
Yeah.
We had like 30-something in our class. But there was a guy, I wish I could think of his name. He either went to Olympus with your mama, your grandmama, or he might have gone to East High School. They didn't have a North, but they had East, South, and West. Those were the main high schools in Salt Lake. And then Olympus came along, and some of the others did. But this guy might have gone to East. That southeastern part of Salt Lake, was a little bit more, what would you call it, prosperous. Like wealthier folks lived over in that area. And like most towns, the other side of the tracks, or a lot of the Hispanics lived over in the west side.
West Valley.
What?
Yeah.
West Valley is
Still like
kind
that.
of a dangerous part of
Still
Salt
like
Lake.
that now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, anyhow, this guy, I wish I could think of his name. You would probably know him. He became famous as a motivational speaker, and he either went to Olympus or he graduated from East about the same time that Dot did. And I remember her talking about him, back when we were living out there.
It wasn't Stephen Covey.
Yes, it was.
It was.
Yeah, he's super famous. He's incredibly famous.
Yeah, when you said famous, I was like, the only one I can
That's
think of is Stephen
exactly
Covey.
who I was trying to think of. And I don't know if you want if it's worthwhile to
Yeah, I can.
research it. You can find out if he's in there, but I'm thinking maybe he went to
different-
East High School, but she knew him, through some of their activities.
Right, yes.
Yeah,
State
he's in-
dances or something.
Yeah, he's incredibly famous.
Well-
He looks like he's not in her graduating class.
Well, Logan has been calling some people. So he called his branch president from the MTC and said, "What can you tell me about my grandmother?" And he said, "She was tall." And Logan was like, "Yeah." And then he said, "Let me ask my wife. My wife probably knew it better." So he said, "Honey, what do you remember about Dorothy Walton?" And the wife hollers back, "She was tall."
She was a doll too, a tall doll.
And she wasn't that tall. That's what I told Logan. I said, she was only 5'8". I mean, it wasn't like she was 6'4".
When we were living, when I was in the Army in Hawaii, Sally came over there to live with us. And she got a job at Tripler Hospital, receptionist, secretary, whatever. And that's where she met Jim Bennett. He was in the Navy in Hawaii, and they got hooked up and ended up getting married in our ward. And do you remember the story, something about the cake? Yeah, I forgot now exactly what it was, but I was helping transport the cake, and it's probably one of those 3-tier jobs. And here I go, and I just about dumped the whole thing on the floor. I think it did maybe fall back and touch my clothes or whatever, which was no.
They just turned the cake so that was toward the back, and then it was fine. But yeah, it almost got spilled, but Daddy saved the day, and it only got mushed on one side.
That's the most stressful job of a wedding, I think.
That was in the middle of the island? That where y'all
Pretty
were?
much, yeah. You know, there are a bunch of islands.
Yeah.
But that was
We got
big.
married on Oahu.
Oh, yeah, well, this was Oahu also.
Yeah.
Honolulu, see, we lived out at Schofield Barracks when I first got there. Then we lived at Fort Shafter, and Tripler is, I would think, pretty much in the middle.
By,
Where did y'all get married?
in Laie.
On the
That's
North
way
Shore.
up on the
Yeah.
North Shore,
Yeah.
the church is.
Yeah. And then
Church.
we had a reception at Turtle Bay Resort,
Turtle Bay,
on the very northern point of the island.
I don't remember it
This is
being
their
there.
resort.
I'm pretty
Could've-
sure it
it
wasn't.
could've
It
been,
looked,
but-
yeah.
You know, there were a lot of military bases, Barbers Point and the Poly Lookout, and of course down around Diamond Head, and I can't remember all the locations, but we heard that y'all went over there and got married so that none of us could come.
We wanted you to fly out.
He thought it would be a fun vacation for everybody. Hey,
Well,
come
he
see
said
us.
we got a room for you to stay, and I said, man, I can't go to Hawaii.
Do you
But
remember
anyway.
taking pictures of us at the temple? Kurt and I are sitting on a bench looking so angelic, and for the moment at least. And then there's some of me and Jamie toddling down this little covered area.
Yeah, I've seen some of those, and there's one, I think it was in Hawaii, of you wearing my coat.
Yes.
It was,
I think that might be Temple Square.
oh really?
I think
In
it
Salt
is
Lake?
Temple Square. But yeah,
Anyway,
it's like
it was
rainy.
sprinkling rain or whatever, and
Yeah.
I took my coat, and she's a little squirt here. She goes,
I look really happy with it on.
you should have been. I was going to get wet.
But then we've got pictures of Logan and Kristen at that same temple under that walkway. It looks a lot better now than it did 50 years ago, or 55 years ago. But
Well,
yeah,
somewhere
it's
I've seen pictures of Grandma and Grandpa Walton. We were down at, what would you call that?
neat.
Waikiki.
Pineapple Farm?
It was on Waikiki, but it would be like Fort DeRussy or in other words, the military had a recreational area in there that the private people would have loved to get their hands on because it was,
Prime property,
Nice
prime
beach.
real estate.
yep.
Well, let me tell you one more story. So Logan called this one man, no, he called Marjorie, who was Mama's maid of honor in the wedding, a little girl, Marjorie Husbands. And when Logan called her, she's 81, and she said, I don't even remember
Going
being
to
at that
that
wedding. She was the maid of honor.
Well, y'all could cut her a little slack for that.
But, you know, she hasn't been in contact with Mom in all these years, but
Yeah, Marjorie Husbands.
so she was Mama's maid of honor, and then Sally was the junior bridesmaid.
I really don't remember her. I should, but I don't. There's a girl, well, there are 2 or 3 girls that were your mama's friends, and if I saw their name, I would recognize it. Heidi, somebody was one of them.
We'll look her up.
See, that's the flat top.
Nice.
Well, Marjorie told this funny story. She said she was dating a young man in high school, and she and Mama were best friends, and so they wanted to go on a double date. So Marjorie asked her boyfriend to set Mama up with somebody so they could go on a double date. But Marjorie told her boyfriend, now Dorothy is smart. and she's beautiful, and you got to get her a good boy to go on a date with, because Dorothy doesn't suffer fools. So don't get her.
Dorothy doesn't what?
Doesn't suffer fools.
Oh,
So,
how'd you wind up with me?
so Marjorie's boyfriend found some boy that he thought was a real winner, and told this young man how smart Dorothy was, and he needed to be on his top game to take this girl out. So the poor boy was trying to impress Mama that night, and he was using big words to try to impress her, and the word he kept using all night long was indubitably. And by the end of the night, Mama had it, and she was not ever going out with him
She
again.
was not impressed with his indubitability or whatever.
Isn't that hilarious that poor little boy liked her and was trying to impress her by using indubitably, but it backfired. Mama wasn't going for it.
Well, do you ever remember her singing any songs about Peanut on the Railroad Track or Bill Grogan's Goat?
Yes. Bill Grogan's goat was feeling fine. ate 3 red shirts from off the line. Bill took a stick, gave him a whack, and tied him to the railroad track.
Exactly.
The whistle blew, the train grew nigh. Bill Grogan's goat was doomed to die.
Exactly.
Something of awful pain coughed up those shirts
gave-
and flagged the train.
He gave 2 groans of awful pain, coughed up the shirts and flagged the
I remember the song. I don't remember her singing it, but
Well,
it's got to be in there somewhere from her singing it.
her. I thought that Ruth maybe used to sing it to y'all or sing it to Dot, but the other one is just dumb. Peanut sat on a railroad track. His heart was all aflutter. Around the bend came the railroad train. Toot toot, peanut butter. What is Heidi's name?
Well, what Mama wrote in her journal about you was that you were so handsome and you talked so cute. So that's
She hadn't run into any Southern boy.
that was better than that beat indubitably any day.
Golly, they had a big class.
Yeah, they did.
See, that meant 2 pages like that would take care of our whole class. But Olympus was one of the more elite schools along with these. And in Headland, we didn't have a choice because that's the only one we had.
So was Russ's mission president in her grade or a year younger? Or?
A year or 2 younger.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of neat too.
It's like Heidi Elgren or Heidi, I don't think it started with an E, but. And she may not have been in the same class.
I can look for it real quick.
Well, I'm almost to the end, so when.
Let's see if I can find her in the junior yearbook.
Oh.
Kristen,
Yes.
if you look across the river over there, just to the right of those towers,
Yes.
you can't see the towers from where you are.
Oh, okay. There's more to the. Okay, yeah, those ones.
Yeah, those ones. Just to the right of those houses on the other side, that's where we lived when Logan was born.
Great. Yeah, so Julie was saying that they would take the boat and go back and forth and so having to drive all the way
crazy.
around.
Yeah, it was so, and when the kids were so little, they just were so excited. They just,
Yeah, it was like a
Papa's
big-
coming to get us in the boat.
So fun.
But yeah, that's where we lived when Logan was born. That we brought him home from the hospital to that house across the river.
And that is a nuclear plant you're looking at.
Yeah, the
Brown's
nuclear plant.
Ferry Nuclear.
Okay, right, so right there?
Yep, that's our power plant.
Very cool. Yeah, nuclear energy is supposed to be good.
It was once the largest nuclear plant in the world,
Okay.
and then they built another one in Japan or somewhere that
Yeah.
was bigger.
Dad, you said we have some Arnold cousins. How are the Arnolds our cousins? Who are they married to? Or do you
Let me think.
remember?
Heidi Shaw.
I don't think so. Let me see. No, I don't think that's the one I was thinking of.
I'll find another one.
Wait a minute. Grandma Walton. Ethel was an Arnold.
Right, that's what I said. Do we have Arnolds on both sides?
I didn't know we had it on. Oh, yeah, wait a minute. Okay. Yes, we do.
Cause you had said something about
Yeah,
Arnold's
yeah,
on
yeah,
this
yeah,
side.
yeah, okay. The way we got them on our side is in Raintree, Jimmy Rain's subdivision up there, Fred Arnold. Fred Arnold was his daddy. Joy Camp was his mother. And Corrine Camp
Okay,
was grandmother's
Joy Camp.
sister.
is Fred Arnold Joy Camp's dad?
Joy
No.
Camp's husband.
Husband. Okay, cause I know Co. So,
Yeah.
and so Joy is Co's baby.
Only child.
And the funny thing about that, I was thinking about her when I was looking at this paperwork. I thought Co was my Aunt Co. As a little girl, I'd get in the car with Nana. We'd go pick up Aunt Co. She always had on a dress and some pretty jewelry and
Like
fancy.
Ruby
Her
Kennington and Fran Vann, the same mold.
beautiful, precious lady. And we would go pick up Aunt Co. And I thought she was my Aunt Co. And then when I'm looking at this paperwork, I'm like, that was Nana's Aunt Co.
It
It,
was.
wasn't even your
And
Aunt
she
Co.
was the youngest child in the family. In Grandmother Vann's family.
So precious. Yeah, let's see what year she was born. She was born in 1901. So she wasn't that much older than Nana.
20 years.
Yeah, she seemed to me about Nana's age. You know, they both had white hair, they both had dresses, they dressed the same. And I just thought they were about the same age. And I didn't realize Aunt Co wasn't my Aunt Co. You know, I don't know what I was thinking.
Logan, did anybody show you the pictures up there? You can poke. We won't take it if you.
Okay, so Joy married an Arnold. That's how the Arnold's found us. Okay. Yeah, because I knew how the Arnolds did on the other
Yeah, I've
side.
seen that one of your mom's.
Well, see, that one right yonder, that's Grandmother Vann's house that we were telling you
Oh,
about a while
okay.
ago.
Yeah.
Came across the stile fence to the back side of it. Yeah, there's Mom. That's the house, same house.
Okay.
This is Granddaddy Vann
Okay.
that I never knew.
Okay.
That is Mama holding me.
Okay.
That is Mama Kate and Pat, Daddy's parents.
Okay.
And then the most interesting, well, of course, this is the same bunch right here. I might as well show you that.
Yeah.
That's Emily, Felix, called Bump, Jack. No, that's Jack and Bumps, Felix, Emily, Kate Helen, May, Mama, and Jim.
Nice.
Edith is not in there. She might have been dead. Yeah, there were 9 of them. See.
Okay.
But now the funny story is this picture over here. Granddaddy Vann, well, this photographer came to the door and wanted to know if he wanted their pictures taken. And he said, yeah, but you need to give us a few minutes. Why don't you go on down the street and, you know, take care of some other folks and then come back? Well, if you look real carefully, some of them are barefoot.
Yeah.
That's Uncle Jack, Uncle Sam. I think Uncle Sam's standing on a brick. That's Mama,
Okay.
Jim, Emily, Edith, and Uncle Bumps. But anyway,
Yeah, I don't think I've seen this picture before.
why don't you get it out so you can take a better picture if you want
Okay.
to.
Yeah.
But now that is a classic right there. And if you hear, see, May and Kate Helen weren't even born then.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking on ancestry.com, and so I've seen that picture of your mama, and I've seen this one of your mama holding you.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I've not seen. I don't think this one's on ancestry.com, so I'll put it
Okay.
up there. Nice.
Something else.
Yeah.
The next time when y'all come, hope